Shanavra.
It's been an year that my parents were abducted in their pajamas from their home.
Pushima pijama.
A year has passed, but actually one long day has passed that feels like an eternity.
Today marks a year since the war. Of course, we know about displacement to displacement and from one catastrophe to another.
It's been a year since so many Israelis were taken, kidnapped by Hamas, and they're still there.
October 7, 2024, marking 1 year of war between Israel and Hamas. This was the day last year when Palestinian Hamas militants barged into Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking about 250 hostage. Hamas believed Israel would collapse after the October 7 attack. Instead, over the past year, Israel responded with a devastating onslaught on Gaza, causing widespread casualties and destruction. The Israel-Hamas conflict resulted in the deaths of over 42,000 civilians in Gaza. 726 Israeli soldiers died in combat. This gruesome war that began in Gaza a year ago has expanded across West Asia, with Israel fighting countries and groups far from its borders. It has now become a direct confrontation between Israel and its Western allies on one side, and Iran and its proxies on the other. Iran's defensive posture has taken several hits over the past year, as Israel waged war on Hamas in Gaza, launched airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen, and wiped out almost all top Hezbollah leaders in Lebanon, including its chief Hassan Nasrallah. All three groups, along with militias in Iraq and Syria, make up Iran's so-called Axis of Resistance, a network of allied groups established down the decades to insulate Tehran from regional threats. However, amid all this, Iran's evolving nuclear program remains its regime's biggest achievement. So, if the Axis of Resistance is weakening its power, could Iran decide to step up its nuclear weapons program? Republican presidential candidate for the White House, Donald Trump, suggests Israel strike Iran's nuclear facilities in response to the recent missile barrage.
We have to be totally prepared. We have to be absolutely prepared. But when they asked him that question, the answer should have been, hit the nuclear first and worry about the rest later. And that's what they should. That's what if they're going to do it. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. But we'll find out whatever their plans are.
Biden, however, is urging a proportional response.
I think there's things we'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all seven of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Listen, this election is about your wallet. Candidate A is a billionaire looking out for billionaires. Candidate B knows the struggle. Tax credits for working and middle class families.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Why is Israel worried about Iran's nuclear ambitions? Will Israel attack Iran's nuclear sites anytime soon? What is the current status of Iran's nuclear program? And which all countries have nuclear arsenal? On the 1st of October this year, Iran launched a major missile attack on Israel, firing nearly 200 projectiles. The move underscored the deepening hostility between the two nations. While Israel said that its advanced defense systems managed to intercept the majority of the projectiles, the attack raised alarm across the region and beyond. This missile barrage is the second significant strike from Iran this year, following an earlier attack in April 2024. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded with a warning that Iran would pay, as US President Joe Biden urged restraint. Analysts have said that with Iran's proxy fighters weakening and its conventional weapons proving insufficient, Tehran may be closer than ever to crossing the threshold and building a nuclear weapon. Having successfully fended off Iran's volley of ballistic missiles with America's help, Israel is confronting a dilemma at the moment. It has vowed to retaliate, but attacking Iran's nuclear program could lay the groundwork for a sustained direct war between the two. And if Israel doesn't bomb the nuclear facilities, it will leave intact the one weapon that an injured theocracy will need to deter future Israeli actions. Will Israel, which is occupied on multiple fronts, attack Iran's nuclear facilities?
I think that to attack right now Israel alone, the nuclear facilities, even though the persuasion, especially among Netanyahu, could be high, would be a mistake, because Israel alone may not be possible to make the damage that is really needed to halt the Iranian program for quite a number of years, 3 or 4 years. For that, Israel should do it with the United States jointly. I don't think the United States would join for Israel, and I think the private advises not to do so. So that's a problem.
Iran's nuclear program has been the subject of concern for many global powers, particularly Israel, which views Iran's growing nuclear potential as an existential threat. Iran is believed to have nuclear and uranium enrichment sites across the country. Tehran did promise restrictions on its nuclear activities in exchange for relief from international sanctions under a 2015 deal with world powers. The agreement fell apart after then US President Donald Trump pulled out in 2018. Iran too abandoned the restrictions. Since then, Iran has been expanding its uranium enrichment program. Experts suggest that Iran's breakout time, the time needed to produce enough enriched uranium for a nuclear bomb, is now down to just a few weeks.
For Israel, they have multiple options. One possible option could be the Iranian nuclear facilities. I'm not sure to how much backing or support they can count on from the international community, because the ramifications of the impact of hitting an Iranian facility could be massive. So it's really up to Israel and the multiple options they have, but they do have many options regarding how they choose to retaliate and strike Iranian infrastructure.
You know what nobody talks about when it comes to building a content creator business? That if you're not tool in your communication, you're probably leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Hi, my name is Kaya. And I'm
UN watchdog International Atomic Energy Agency, or to the UNC, or Iran is enriching uranium up to 60% fissile purity, close to 90% of weapons grade at 2 sites. For 22 years, the locus of Israel's attention and Washington's in Iran has been the Natanz nuclear enrichment plant. Natanz is at the heart of Iran's enrichment program on a plain outside the Shiite Muslim holy city of Qom, south of Tehran. It has 2 plants, the underground fuel enrichment plant and the above-ground pilot fuel enrichment plant. As claimed by the Iranian opposition group in 2002, Iran was secretly building Natanz, igniting a diplomatic standoff between the West and Iran over its nuclear projects. It's at Natanz that Iran houses centrifuges, a scientific device used to separate fluids, gases, or liquids based on the density of the subject. Reportedly, damage has been done to the centrifuges at the plant, including an explosion and power cut in April 2021 that Iran claimed was carried out in an Israeli attack. Fordo is located opposite of Qom. In the 2015 deal, world powers did not allow Iran to enrich at Fordo at all. It is now more than 1,000 centrifuges operating there. Iran recently doubled the number of centrifuges installed at Fordo. The US, Britain, and France announced in 2009 that Iran had been secretly building Fordo for years and had failed to inform the IAEA. Iran has a large nuclear technology center on the outskirts of Isfahan, its second largest city. The Isfahan facility builds uranium metal, a process that is particularly proliferation sensitive since it can be used to devise the core of a nuclear bomb. After Iran's attack on Israel in April, the latter responded by striking an airbase in Isfahan. Iran built the heavy water research reactor Kondab, originally called Arak. As part of the 2015 deal, construction was halted at Kondab. The reactor's core was removed and filled with concrete to make it unusable. However, Iran has informed the IAEA that it plans to bring the reactor online in 2026. This is Iran's only operating nuclear power plant on the Gulf Coast. Bushehr uses Russian fuel that Russia then takes back when it's spent, reducing the proliferation risk. Another potential nuclear threat may be looming in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Russia, which holds the world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads, unveiled its new nuclear doctrine. Lowering its threshold for nuclear engagement while continuing its invasion of Ukraine. In September this year, Vladimir Putin said Russia would consider an attack from a non-nuclear state that was backed by a nuclear-armed one to be a joint attack. In what could be construed as a threat to use nuclear weapons in the war in Ukraine.
в обновленной редакции документа агрессию против России со стороны любого неядерного государства, но с участием или при поддержке ядерного государства предлагается рассматривать как их совместное нападение на Российскую Федерацию.
Ukraine is a non-nuclear state that receives military support from the US and other